Hello everybody, Stream Your Mind here, and today I am going to fully give in to my social anxieties and attempt beating Bloodborne without talking to anybody. So, no leveling up, no NPC questlines, and other fun limitations that would make anyone want to blow their own brains out. Finally, I can put on full display my inability to talk to women. Now that we laid down the ground rules, let's create the most handsome man alive, become a military veteran, and sign a sketchy contract with a strange homeless guy in the back of an alley. After waking up in an illegal clinic in Thailand, I realized that they not only took away one of my kidneys, but my tongue as well. We want to ignore Clifford the big black dog for now, go straight for the vials and out the courtyard. I made sure to pick up everything on my way to the first lamp because I added a no merchant rule to spice things up a bit and because I don't hate myself enough. Hey you, bunch of Brits, did you know that beans on toast actually sucks ass? No interaction with the messengers means that not only I wouldn't be able to level up, but that the starting weapons gifted by our funny little friends are a big no-no. Goodbye, Hunter's Pistol. You'll be forever missed. That just hits the spot. Luckily, we have easy access to the Saw Spear right away, which doesn't have the Saw Cleaver's raw damage, but it does, however, have some tricks up its sleeves that will be very useful later on. And thanks to all the blood shards found around Central Yharnam and some lucky drops from enemies, we can already upgrade the Saw Spear to +2. Grandpa, what the fuck are you doing? I was able to make pretty good work of the Cleric Beast. One good thing about the Saw Spear that I will give it credit for right now is the serration damage in both the transformed and untransformed form. Anyways, a few well-placed hits and my overgrown pubic hair went down. Papa Jones was naturally our next prey, and as usual, the hardest part of the fight was surviving his stinky breath. Ugh, smells like 30 feet and onions. The strat here is the usual, hide behind the tombstones like a bitch. I mainly used heavy attacks in order to stagger him out of any attack animations. However, things got a bit complicated in phase 2. Nothing too troublesome, just had to be a bit more careful about spacing due to Papa G's new extended range. The beast phase was actually the easiest part of the run. I just had to dodge around him and charge R2 until he screamed in pain and died. I made sure to pick up the Blood Gem Workshop tool in the room above and headed to the Cathedral Ward. Hey guys, just a quick note here. I'm getting closer and closer to 13,000 subscribers and it would mean the world to me if you could help me reach that goal. It really does help a lot and I would appreciate it very, very much. Okay, back to the video now. Since I couldn't access the Bath Messengers in the dream, it meant we couldn't buy the key to open up the rest of the area. So the only way was to go through Old Yharnam. I wanted to kill Alfred for his fire papers, but my damage sucked ass sweat from a straw. Also, he has like Jesus Christ, 10,000 HP. This is the biggest limitation of the Saw Spear, honestly. In order to actually be a good weapon, you need to scale the damage with Dex. And since we can't speak to NPCs, leveling up in this run is off the table, meaning that we are stuck for now with a wet noodle that hits as hard as a flaccid cock. I continued going down towards Old Yharnam, giving free colonoscopies to every dog on my way in exchange for blood shards. Then I found some type of warning on the door, but I'm an 1800 British peasant and obviously I can't read. I'm sure it's nothing important. So I proceeded anyways because ignorance is blessed. I got 3 more shards from the scurrying beast found near the entrance before finding a new shortcut back to the lamp. It's important to pick up everything we find because farming for vials takes quite a bit of time. Luckily, with the torch I was able to scare off most of the beasts found in the area. I'll take these 2 as well, thank you very much. I unlocked the shortcut. I then took a super important detour in order to pick up these beast blood pellets, which will be super important later on. I wasn't sure how many tries it would have taken me to beat BSB, given our low damage and health, so I used all the newly acquired shards to level up to +3 and crushed the red ribbon I found on Papa G's cold dead wife's corpse. Hey honey, I'm home! Despite the not so great damage, I was able to make quick work of her first phase. Oh my god, the visceral damage is so ass. And it's not like it's going to get any better, so I'll have to get used to it. Second phase, however, is where I had the most trouble. Not because of the damage and not because of the poison, even though it did cause some issues here and there. No, the problem was that I kept whiffing. I must have missed like 6 or 7 attacks in a row. Also, one hit was all it took to poison me, so I had to be extra careful about my positioning, making everything that much more difficult. I was able to use some blood cocktails to get some damage on her, and turns out third phase was somehow actually easier. Or I got extremely lucky, I don't know. Especially with this last backstab that really didn't look like a backstab. Anyways, the Bloodstarved Babe went down on my first try despite the odds. Now we could access the rest of the world. I got the twin shards dropped from this little fella over here, made my way down to the secret workshop where I got to put my hands on a pretty fancy dress that I got to actually use for once instead of selling it for worthless money. Oh yeah, we look fabulous. Well, since I can't talk to women, might as well look like one. I opened up the rest of the area before venturing into Hemwick to pick up the twin shards laying around. What the fuck is my character doing? I blame Sony for that. Alright, time for the Witches of Hemwick. Unfortunately, I couldn't spend my insight at the Messenger's Bath in the dream, so I actually had to do this fight the hard way. I know, hard and Witches of Hemwick are a weird combination of words for a sentence, but trust me, this fight at lower levels can be quite tricky. And to add salt to an open wound, I only had 2 vials. This will go well for sure. Jesus, how long are these guys' combos? What the fuck is this? Elden Ring? Okay, the damage is horrendous. And she one-shot me? Okay, this time around it's going pretty well. Holy cow, that damage is insane. Okay, fuck this. Since I couldn't lower my insight in the traditional way, I had to get creative. And this meant getting sucked off by this brain sucker over and over. As you can imagine, this was pretty annoying. Though I was able to get my insight all the way down to 0 after some time. I also took a quick detour to pick up some more twin shards in order to up my damage a bit. All of this just for the witches. Jesus, and this is just the beginning of the run. Lowering my insight and preventing the extra guests to spawn in revealed to be the winning strategy, because finally I was able to put the 2 lovely old ladies to sleep and got my hands on the rune workshop tool. Since there was not much I could improve at this point, we can say hello to Crash Bandicoot's long-lost sister. These fights are where the serrated weapons such as the Saw Spear truly shine, obviously. The speed combined with a decent damage made this fight an actual cakewalk. Viscerals still suck, but that's never gonna change really. And just like that, our giant furry lady got to meet her guides. Then I found a skull that I'm probably not supposed to touch, but just like Epstein, sometimes I just can't stop myself from touching things I'm not supposed to. So I placed my hands on the damn thing, watched Joe Biden ramble something about the old blood, and realized that I have no idea what the hell is going on in this game. Next stop, Forbidden Woods, which is a great area for obtaining the remaining twin shards we need to upgrade our weapon. There are also a lot of heals we can pick up there, as well as getting access to the Canehurt summons. I can't wait, we absolutely need to turn this wet paper towel into an actual weapon. Well, shit. Luckily, there is another way. Remember Clifford, the big black dog from the start of the game? Well, Clifford is such a good boy that he can actually help us get to the Forbidden Woods. Yeah, okay, enough with the bullshit. You all know what I'm talking about. I mean, this game is on its way to middle school at this point. Anyways, I'll explain for the 2 people in the audience who don't know about this. So, if you let the werewolf grab you while standing in front of the gate, and you start smashing R1, R2, L1, and L2 together at the same time, well, this happens. Oh, god damn it. What I meant was this happens. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out! Now we both have access to the Forbidden Woods and the summons, which I immediately went to pick up. Then I decided to put down Clifford because, I mean, look at him. He clearly has rabies. After that, I almost got lost in the poison lake and almost died to the worm enemies that seem to be designed to be the most annoying thing ever since Dark Souls 2. Anyways, I ran through the area like a maniac with the intent of reaching the shortcut as quickly as possible. Once that was done, I decided to go to Canehurt and grab some of the chunks found there, as well as finally getting my hands on a gun, which will be crucial for parrying the later bosses of the run. I got all of the chunks, including the 2 dropped by this little fella, and finally we can get a gun. Wait, what you mean I need 18 blood tinge to wield it? Well, since I needed the Evelyn to fight the KKK, as the Shadows of Yharnam without the chance of shooting them in the face was as bad as finding out that the Duskbloods will be a Switch 2 exclusive, I decided to get a little bit stronger. Let's address the elephant in the room. The saw spear has a waning gem slot, and waning gems usually are used for elemental damage, which we obviously won't be using as it needs quite a bit of an investment in terms of levels and stats. However, there are a couple of glyphs where we can find 20% physical waning gems. We just need to farm them from this guy over here. He drops them relatively often, so it didn't take too long. Then, I used this glyph to farm these two lovely gentlemen for radial gems. They hit like a fucking truck, however, they can be easily cheesed by just exploiting their aggro ranges. For some reason, the guy with the shield has a shorter range than his buddy with the greatsword. I don't know what that's about. Anyways, after finding some decent enough gems, I returned to the DLC, and after having bullets for breakfast, I picked up the blood chunks in the area, as well as the boom hammer, which is one of the few weapon pickups that we can actually use. I somehow survived this ladder encounter, I still have no idea how, and made it to the lantern near Ludwig, where there is another enemy from which we can farm blood vials repeatedly and relatively quickly. Obviously, I was not ready for Ludwig whatsoever, so I returned to the shadows where I actually had a really good attempt, only for the candlestick guy to pull a fast one on me and ruin everything right before I could cheese his ass. The fight without parrying felt pretty weird. It quickly turned into a hit and run strategy type of fight, using the big tombstone in the middle to divide them. Anxiety levels were obviously going through the roofs and into outer space, so just your typical Shadows of Yharnam fight. The damage was pretty good, shortening the fight's length significantly, lowering the chances of random bullshit happening. I cheesed Candlestick Guy like you usually would and ended one of the hardest fights in the base game, especially at this level. Byrgenwerth was nothing special, as usual. The giant mosquitoes were annoying as always. I got the Lunarium Keep easily, and by consuming our first beast blood pellets, I was able to do this to the giant baked potato we all know and love called rum. Now that we're back in Brazil, I could show my exceptional skills at skipping the entire area. God damn it. Let's try that again. Hell yeah, first try. I unlocked the elevator, picked up the chunks I needed for +9, then I entered the glyph you see on screen and got my hands on a blood rock found inside a chest in the first bonus area. Sorry lady, but no sucking today. And finally, we now have a fully upgraded saw spear. Then I returned to the woods to pick up more beast blood pellets. I was running out of vials, so I farmed for some more on the bridge in central Yharnam before witnessing Miyazaki shit out one of the worst bosses in the game directly out of his pie hole. Luckily, the fight is pretty easy. I got rid of the witches, who look awfully similar to me when I wake up in the morning, and once they were taken care of, I simply broke every limb of the one reborn, infinitely staggering him the entire fight. Well, he did wake up towards the end, but his retaliation was as effective as an inflatable dartboard, and by that time the fight was already over anyways. Then I did the most satisfying thing in the game. I made Patches get a taste of my dented blade through his egg-shaped face, before making my way through the Nightmare of Menses. But before visiting everybody's favorite virgin loser, I went out of my way to pick up the poison knives found in the Forbidden Woods, because of course I'm going to cheese Mikolash. I mean, look at his face. Guy has clearly something wrong with him. Murgo was next, but let me tell you, despite this boss usually causing no issues on normal playthroughs, this Ring Wraith wannabe actually turns into a pretty tough challenge in low level runs. For one, she has a pretty insane health pool, and if you aren't careful, she can easily one-shot you. So instead of banging my head against the wall for hours on end, I decided to introduce Ludwig to the Beast Blood pellets. And it went a little bit like this. After I placed the thing inside the thing and took the biggest elevator on this side of the continent, I arrived at the COVID vaccine testing labs according to Alex Jones. Fun times! I made my way to the Living Failures, which is a very fitting name for Nick Fuentes and his goons. I was able to take advantage of the respawning failure and got a pretty good chunk of their health bar down before they began praying the old gods, giving me a chance to finish them off quickly on my first attempt. Now, before getting my ass stumped by my beloved Lady Maria, I'm not complaining, I'm actually into it, I decided to pay a visit to our good old friend Alfred for some fire papers. However, he only drops 3 and these are the last fire papers available without buying them from the bath messengers. So, once I kindly asked the guy to leave, I returned to the Tomb of Odin, where we fought Papa Gasoline earlier, and began running in circles from the entrance of the tomb down the stairs and back. This is known as the dupe glitch, and by crossing this invisible line over and over, the game spawns the items dropped by the NPC continuously, meaning that we now have around 60 fire papers. Trust me guys,
It just works.
finally, thanks to some beast blood pellets, I was able to put the wet nurse to sleep, meaning that we are officially in the endgame now. But I still had a fancy night out with everyone's favorite hunter baddie Maria, and I had a pretty fun strategy involving the boom hammer and the fist of Gracia. Basically, I would use the fist of Gracia to break her poise, and then use the heavy attack of the boom hammer to knock her down on the floor like any of you pervs would do, basically staggering her repeatedly. And I reckon that this could actually work if my damage was a bit higher and my health bar a bit bigger. Definitely a decent way to break the fight if you have the stats, which we don't, so unfortunately we will have to fight her legitimately.
Oh, I know what the ladies like.
Now that we have Maria under our belt, I decided to attempt Orphan. However, without guns, this fight at base level becomes extremely complicated. And I spent already 40 hours on this run, so I said fuck you to the baby and faced off Jeffrey Epstein himself. Turns out he actually did not Minecraft himself, he just became German the first hunter. Oh shit, I have to talk to him? Nope, just slap him in the face while playing Sabrina Carpenter's new song and he'll get angry enough to miraculously stand up, turn that shit off, and send you straight into Elden Ring 2. Honestly, pairing him makes this fight 100% easier. However, after some attempts, I was able to get the swing of it, and this is what it looked like. Alright guys and gals, this is the end of our adventure. Can you beat Bloodborne without talking to anyone? Yes. Will you have a fun time doing it? Yes. Would I ever do it again? Fuck no, I'm not stupid. Alright guys, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider subscribing.
What do you know? What the hell do you actually know about me, huh? Nothing! I'll tell you what kind of man I really am. I have no strength, but I want it all. I have no knowledge, but all I do is dream. There's nothing I can do but struggle in vain like an idiot. I hate myself!
Cheese.
Alright guys, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and comment who is your favorite NPC in Bloodborne. Mine has to be Ariana for reasons. Alright guys, this is all I've got for today, and I will see you in the next one.
Hai freddo?
cacciatore.